Hi, my name is Jake, and this is my front yard mission story. So as I started this journey in front yard missions, one of the big pieces that I wanted to get better at and focus more on was the prayer piece, pray first. And one of the ways that I did that, probably the most impactful way that I did that, was through a habit I formed that I learned from a book called Atomic Habits. And so it was a really simple thing where I took a habit I already had, which for me was making coffee. Every morning, that's one of the first things I do is make coffee. And so I added a habit on top of that. And so what I do is when my coffee is brewing, I take 3 to 5 minutes and I just pray for my neighbors. And that looks like a lot of different things. Sometimes it's praying for opportunities to get to know them more, to speak into their lives. Sometimes it's specific prayer requests that I know neighbors need just through small conversations with them. And sometimes it's just praying for them very generally. I think sometimes we think we have to have these super specific prayer requests to have meaningful prayer time with our neighbors, but sometimes I'll just go like house by house. Each day I'll focus on a different house and I'll just pray for them by name. And sometimes it's just rambling, sometimes it's very specific, but the important piece for me is A, praying for them, but B, it shifts my focus more towards my neighbors when I'm having that constant time praying for them, praying for my hashtag. And one of the really cool ways that I've seen that play out, we have a dog, me and my wife, and we try and take the dog on walks as consistently as possible. And I've just seen a focus on being more aware of my surroundings, being more aware of my neighbors while we're going on these walks. And so there was a day not too long ago where we were on one of those walks and we saw one of our neighbors who originally wasn't on our hashtag. It's someone who I have been praying for since, largely because of this interaction. But we were walking by and I noticed two gentlemen, one was older, one was a little bit younger, and they were trying to carry this massive treadmill into the house, and I didn't want to help them, but there was just like that push of like you need to help them. And so almost without thinking, I just yelled out, "Do you guys need a hand?" And they very gratefully accepted my help. I ran up and it took way longer than I was hoping it would take. It did not fit where it was supposed to go, and it was a mess. I was drenched in sweat, but I got to meet someone who I hadn't met before. We got to exchange numbers. I was able to talk to them a couple of times, and I've seen them on walks since, and our relationship has grown since then. It was someone who I maybe, just being totally honest, maybe wouldn't have noticed or said hi to were it not for that God moment where I saw something happening and I did something very simple of just asking, "Hey, do you guys need a hand?" That alone has opened up really cool conversations, and it's God's worked in me to do things that I normally wouldn't do. I'm very introverted, and so going up to people who I don't know and asking if they need help, and then exchanging numbers and having conversations isn't in my sweet spot. I'm pretty awkward in first conversations, but it's been really cool to see the ways that God has worked in me, worked in my wife and our family as we've learned how to love our neighbors better. And a big piece of that is prayer. So pray for your neighbors. God will work in you to be able to impact them in powerful ways. And often with that prayer piece, God does a whole lot more in us than we realize or than we think. So pray first, pray for your hashtags.